Welcome to Bowl Game Radio.
They reverse it to Shipley. Now he's going to throw the ball to Ash at the 5, to the goal line. Touchdown, Texas. A little razzle-dazzle.
With Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville.
Moves it downfield, got a receiver there. Caught at the 15, 10, 5. He scores.
Bowl Game Radio on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for, believe it or not, our second season of Bowl Game Radio here on the mighty 1090. I'm Bruce Binkowski.
And I'm Mark Neville. San Diego's postseason college football games, the National University Holiday Bowl and the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, have a great story to tell. And with this season's Bowl Game Radio, we'll be providing insights on the behind-the-scenes activities relating to the presentation of San Diego's two bowls.
We're going to be here for 10 weeks, 10 shows starting tonight. It'll be 60 minutes between 6 and 7 every night, and we will have...
And there's nothing more that I'd like to do than to spend an hour with you after hours,
especially
every week.
According to the copy you wrote, we're going to have compelling features, team selection outlooks, and interviews with some of college football's biggest names, past and present. And all kidding aside, we're going to have some big names on tonight.
Yeah, and I think we have a really good show tonight. Former Aztecs and USC head coach Ted Tollner will be joining us in a few moments for our team selection update. And then in our next segment, we'll be talking about the changes taking place with college football's postseason. And we'll be talking with the executive director of the Football Bowl Association, Wright Waters.
And we're also scheduled to talk a little Pac-12 football in a chat with ESPN.com reporter Kevin Gemmell. Then we're going to wrap things up with a conversation with one of the newest members of the San Diego Bowl Game Association Hall of Fame, Reggie Campbell from the United States Naval Academy. He had a couple of big San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowls.
Yes, he did. And new this year, too, Bruce, we're going to be taking calls. We'd love to hear from you regarding questions and comments about the topics on the table. Plus, we'd love to hear who you would like to see in this year's games. You can call us at 858-457-1090 or 877-792-1090.
And before we begin and have our first guest, we'd like to remind you that to like us, now this is not me, so this is really out of my bailiwick, but I'm going to give it a shot. Like us on each of our Facebook pages and follow us on Twitter at Poinsettia Bowl and at Holiday Bowl Game.
Very good, Bruce. Very good. So it is that time of year now, and we're going to start our first segment here. It's that time of year where we start looking at the conference standings. We watch a lot of football on Saturdays and talk about the opportunities that we have for our games. And so right now, it is our team selection update.
And remember, the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl is Thursday, December the 26th, and the National University Holiday Bowl is Monday, December the 30th. And we are joined now with our first guest tonight, a well-known college football coach in San Diego, Ted Tollner. Ted, thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Bruce and Mark. Good to be with you.
All right, now a little background for our listeners on Ted Tollner. We're going to go all the way back, Ted. You started in 1963 coaching at Woodside High School, and along the way, yeah, it's a long time ago. And along the way, here are some of the stops. And not that you couldn't keep a job, it just shows you're a very experienced football coach. College of San Mateo, offensive coordinator at San Diego State, quarterbacks coach at BYU. You've been a head coach at USC and San Diego State. In the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, the Chargers, the Rams, the 49ers, the Lions, the Raiders. You have been everywhere, and you know everything about college football.
Well, you know what I was told when I got into it, once you got to Division I in the NFL, they said, Ted, if you can average the way things are now, 5 years a job, you're doing good. And that's about what the average has been over the 50-year period of coaching.
It's been a great ride for you, Coach. And by the way, just for our listeners, Ted is also on the board of directors of the San Diego Bowl Game Association.
And a member of our team selection committee.
Yes, and that's why we're talking to Ted right now. Now, Coach, let's start with the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Our matchup is going to be a team from the Mountain West Conference and Army if they're bowl eligible. And let's talk about Army first. If they get to 6 wins, they will be invited to the Poinsettia Bowl football game. Army right now has a record of 3-4. But if you look at their schedule moving forward, they are playing Temple. They are playing Air Force, Western Kentucky,
Hawaii. And not only that, but Temple, Air Force, and Hawaii right now have 1 win between them.
So our first question to you, not to put you on the spot, can Army get bowl eligible?
I think they can. We all know that when we start picking games and think we're experts at it, somebody comes along and upsets. But when you look at it, they've got 5 games left. They've got to win 3 of them. And like you said, 3 of the teams have losing records, and Western Kentucky and Navy are good programs right now as far as win-loss. But they've got to find a way to win more than likely the 3 that have the poorest records. If they only win 2 of those 3, then they've got to upset one of those teams with a good record. So it's all doable, and they want to get to a bowl game. I mean, there's some motivation there that when a team hasn't been there for a while and they know they've got a lock if they can win, I think it'll go right down to the final game, and I do believe they have a chance to get to 6.
Interesting with the Air Force offense, the Navy offense, the Army offense, they're all kind of equal, and they have to be a little different because they just don't have the size of other teams. But when they're playing each other, things are pretty equal, I would imagine.
They are. I mean, they don't have the physicalness, so you're not going to see a power run type game. I mean, that's why you see more options where they can isolate one-on-ones, whether they're handing it to a back or the quarterback's keeping it or he's pitching. They're trying to get situations where there's more one-on-one, and you have to be right on defense to stop them. And if you make it, you don't play your defense sound, they're going to get you in an open field one-on-one versus trying to knock people out of there all the time. That has not been their style, just because of the physical stature of their team versus their opponents.
Okay, so Army on the one side if they get to 6 wins. Now, Mark wants to ask you about the Mountain West.
Yeah, so we get a top team from the Mountain West Conference. And obviously Fresno State right now is at the top of the pack with that conference. They're 5-0. Do you think they have the opportunity to run the table and perhaps get a BCS bid?
I do. I really do. Now in 2 weeks, we're going to all be rooting real hard against them because San Diego State plays them, and they have not played to their potential at this point. Fresno State has. I think that's some game that they can upset them. I really believe San Diego State can upset Fresno State at home in a couple weeks. I believe that's the only team that can beat them right now, even though there's other teams that have as good a record, and San Diego State record is not that great right now. But I think they can run the table if they get by San Diego State, and they will get a BCS invite. If not, then everything else opens up. But it's the rest of the conference that's interesting to me. I mean, there's so many different ways the rest of the conference can go because they all play each other yet, and they're all fighting for respectable records.
Well, back to Fresno State for a second. A lot of people don't realize that games in other conferences matter to Fresno State for their chance to be in the BCS. When Stanford lost and when Oklahoma lost, that opened up a big opportunity for Fresno State to be eligible for the BCS.
No question about it. And who would have guessed that Utah would beat Stanford? I mean,
huge
Stanford
upset.
was playing so well, and you'll talk about that later when you get to the Pac-12 stuff. But that can happen every week. Whenever we think there's a lock on a game, there is no such thing as a lock. Either way, whether you're the favorite or the underdog. So that's what makes it so exciting. It really does.
Another team that is on our radar screen is Wyoming. Right now, they sit at 4-2. They lost a close one in Nebraska early in the season, and then they did lose to Texas State, which was a little surprising a couple weeks ago. But they are 4-2 right now, and they do have Fresno State and Boise State still to play in conference. What do you think of that team, and if they have a good chance of getting a bid to the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl?
Well, I like their chances. I mean, their chances of getting to 7 is very good, and if they can upset a team that's going to be favored over them, they can get higher than that. So I think very realistically they can be a 7 and 8 win team. Now they've got to beat the teams that they're playing better than right now. But that's what you've got to do when you want to get a bowl bid and you want to get your team back into that picture. And Wyoming's been down for a few years. They're highly motivated now. They've got a new staff in there the last couple of years, and so I think they'll definitely get to the minimum. And now it's a matter of how much above the minimum of 6 they're going to get. Is it going to be 8, 7, 8, or 9? It'll be interesting.
Well, now let's jump over, Coach, to the National University Holiday Bowl and the Pac-12 in particular. And like you just mentioned, the big upset, Utah beating Stanford at home there in Salt Lake City. That was a huge win for Utah, a big win for the program. Now, there's been a lot of talk, actually, about the Stanford being gassed with the high altitude and things. Is there really anything to that?
Oh, there's no question that there is, in my opinion. I mean, over the years, whether we were going up there to play in any of the, whether it be Air Force or Wyoming, or when I was in the NFL going up to play the Denver Broncos, we tried everything. Go in early and try to get acclimated. Go in as late as you can and play the game and play it down with your players. Don't talk about altitude. But the reality is, it does. If you're not used to it, you cannot get acclimated in a 2 or 3 day period. And no matter when you come in that short period, it's going to get you at the end. And it's a matter of just will to try to not let it. But you are exhausted when it's over if you're not used to it. I don't believe there's any question about that.
This is Bruce Binkowski along with Mark Neville. We're talking with Ted Tollner, longtime college and pro football coach in the Bowl Game Radio team selection segment. And we're going to be talking to Ted every Wednesday about this time as we head towards Selection Sunday in early December.
And another team, Coach, that I think is really interesting is Oregon State. Oregon State starts off the season losing to Eastern Washington. Then they rattle off 5 in a row. Do they have the ability to continue with this pace and get to San Diego and the National University Holiday Bowl?
Well, there's no question that they do. Now, they've got some tough games left also, and that's, again, what makes it so interesting. There's so many things that teams that are having good years, like Oregon State and Washington and Arizona State, and, not counting the Oregon, Stanford, UCLA, and even SC back in the picture. Now, there's a lot of teams right now. Washington State's improved. So that conference has got a lot of things that are going to go on before they determine who their top echelon teams are. But Oregon State is certainly one of those that has to be in our thoughts.
All right, Ted, one last question as we're running out of time. Big 12. Now, my personal final 3, anyway, are Texas, West Virginia, and TCU. Those are the teams I think will be in the National University Holiday Bowl picture. What do you think?
Well, all 3 of them for sure will be in the picture by wins. Now, Texas beating Oklahoma was for me, it was really special. I'm a Mac Brown fan. He's been taking some heat, and he's a tremendous coach. And he couldn't beat Oklahoma, they said, and they haven't had a national championship for a while. But that win against Oklahoma last week was big, and I think they could get on fire now, even though they have a lot of good teams to play with Tech and Baylor and teams to play at the end of the year. But they're going to have enough wins. And then West Virginia, like you say, they've got a tough schedule, but they will be qualified when it comes. So we're going to get a good football team there. But all 3 of the ones you mentioned are legitimate, and it's going to be a matter of how it shakes down when they all start playing each other. But it's exciting to see what's in front of us.
And last question here from the Big 12, Ted. Texas Tech is 6-0. Baylor is 5-0. They're going to be playing each other. Which one do you think has the best shot of running the table and finishing undefeated?
Well, I don't think either one of them will, but I think Baylor will beat Texas Tech. And that's a coach now ex-coach that can now pick people and not have to be accountable for anything. But I just think Baylor's got a powerhouse offense. Now, Kansas State played them fairly well last week, even though Baylor beat them. I think Baylor will beat Texas Tech, but I don't believe either one of them is going to go undefeated.
Coach Ted Tollner, thank you very much for joining us with the Team Selection Report.
I liked it a lot, guys. Thank you for having me, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot.
And you're listening to Bowl Game Radio on the San Diego Bowl Game Media Network and the mighty 1090.